Hey everybody, Matt with TheLowCashHomestead. So we got a couple projects that we're working on today. One of them is we're putting in some new, a couple more beds. We had 3 beds here and they weren't spaced out quite. They were just kind of like put in. It's just what materials I had at the time and salvage materials. So what we're doing is we'll have 6 beds down this run now. The ones up there are deeper for root crops. These 2 are for lettuce and leafy greens, so they're not going to be as deep. We're not going to screen the soil mix as well because I'm not worried about it for lettuces and mustards and things like that. Let me show you. My son's cutting the bundles open. Soil mix we're going to use for this is going to be 1 3 cubic foot container of peat moss, 1 bag of mushroom compost, he just sat down on that, 1 bag of raised bed soil, or excuse me, 2 bags of raised bed soil, and 1 container of 1 bag of perlite. So that's 4 cubic feet. Each of those is 2 cubic feet. That's 40 pounds. It's not measured by the cubic foot. And then that's 3 cubic feet. And so this is a 7x3 box that gives us 21 square feet, and it's 8 inches deep. So just to make it easy, I rounded that down to 6 inches and then added a little bit of material. So we would need, if you round down to 6 inches, that's like 10 cubic feet, 10.5 cubic feet. So we've got 3 cubic feet and 4 cubic feet makes 7. Plus 2 more cubic feet makes 9, plus 2 more cubic feet makes 11, plus the mushroom compost. And these are 2x8 beds. And again, I didn't build them super deep because they're not going to be holding root crops. They're going to be holding leafy greens and things like that. And we're setting all this up for the fall garden inside the high tunnel. So we'll have leafy greens growing in the high tunnel and outside of the high tunnel. And I mentioned this before, but I didn't originally plan on building boxes through the entire high tunnel. But we probably will do that simply because of the comfrey. It did its job for the first few years. The soil here is much better, but I have to kill that off. So we're putting this poly ground cover down and then building on top of it. That's one of the things we're working on today. This is Matt with TheLowCashHomestead. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Hey everybody, Matt with TheLowCashHomestead. So we're topping off our hydro tanks. I do this pretty much every day. In our zone, we get quite a bit of evaporation, and if you don't keep the system with an appropriate fluid level in it, then you run your pumps dry. And even if your pump, in this case we're using magnetic drive pumps. One of them is a Vivo Sun, and the other one is, I don't know the name of it, some China pump, but they are mag drive. With mag drive pumps, it's not good to run them dry, but it's not necessarily devastating unless you continually run them dry. So we don't want that to happen. So I top off my system each day, and it usually takes about 5 gallons. So what we're using here, this is the master blend, the 41838, then the Epsom salt, and then the calcium nitrate. I don't have an EC meter, that's electrical conductivity. I don't have an EC meter, so I go 2 parts on the master blend, 1 part on the Epsom salt, 2 parts on the calcium nitrate. And I've said it before, make sure you add your calcium nitrate last. So you put your master blend and then your Epsom salt, you fill your tank up or container or whatever it is you're going to do, and then add your calcium nitrate. Doesn't matter what the measurement is, 2 parts, 1 part, 2 parts. If you're using an EC meter, then of course you would go by what your EC meter says. We don't have one of those, so we're mixing it up by ratio. So we're going to mix it up in a bucket, we're going to put it in there, just keep our system topped off and make sure our pumps don't run dry. Here's the other thing, with a home built system or DIY system, if you run your pumps dry, you could potentially put air bubbles in the line, and then you have to go through and get all your feeds working again. And in this case, what we usually end up doing is sometimes you have to wiggle the little 1/4-inch tube from the 1/2-inch tube, and in some cases you have to suck on it like you're trying to siphon gas. to get the fluid flowing back again. We don't have to go and do that every day. So keep your system topped up. It's Matt with The Cash Homestead. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Hey everybody, Matt with The Cash Homestead. So my son got all these boxes built, or I built them and he filled them. These first 4, we screened all of our materials because these are going to be root crop boxes. And so what we're doing now is we're putting some amendments in them. So first thing we have in there is some Granular Phosphorus. A little bit difficult to find, but I did find it at one of the garden shops about an hour away. And so we put some Granular Phosphorus in there. We put some granular potassium in there. We put some dolomite lime in there just to keep the pH right. And then we put in some worm castings. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the oscillator, we're going to agitate all this up, and then I'll stick my pH meter in there and kind of see how we're doing on the pH, and if I have to add more lime, then I will. These boxes here are peat moss, perlite, screened soil, and I forget the last ingredient. Oh no, I didn't use that though. So it's peat moss, perlite, and screened soil. So when we took the boxes out, we dug them out and saved all that material, and then we screened it all back into the box. So now I'm going to take the oscillator, we're going to oscillate it up and grade it out, and then I'm going to stick my pH meter in there and see how we're doing. Alright, so there we go. So we can get a little bit better focus there. Our pH meter puts us between 7 and 8. So I mean, I'm looking at the bar there, and it's right at the end of the 7 cubes. So I'm going to say that our soil is pretty much neutral right now. So I don't think I'm going to have to do much else to it. So I'm going to basically prep the rest of these boxes on the way down. Today we actually started our online school, and there's been a lot of kinks to get worked out, and we'll talk more about that later, but there's been a lot of kinks to get worked out, as well as we haven't received a lot of our materials and some other things yet. So, you know, there was a lot of time on the phone today dealing with those issues, as well as trying to get sorted out everybody's logins. Not everybody's logins worked, getting their interactive calendars operating. None of that stuff worked, all those things. So it's been a long day, and we haven't barely spent any time in the garden. But anyway, let's get back to it. The soil, it's about how it needs to be. So we're gonna do the rest of these. There's 4 or 5, 6 more of these boxes. This is a 9 by 3 by 9. The others are 3 by 7, and that's a very simple explanation for that. And that is, unless I'm having lumber delivered, I have to buy what fits in my van. So 10-footers fit in the van. So the rest of the boxes are 3 by 7. Okay, so I'm going to work on the rest of these beds. It's basically, again, it's a granular phosphorus, a granular potassium, some agricultural limestone, dolomite limestone, worm castings, and of course some Job's Organic. And the Job's Organic that I'm using is a 356. I went to the lowest nitrogen that I could get, because 4 of these beds are going to be root crops. The other 2 are going to be leafy greens. So we're not going to need a lot of nitrogen input, and your leafy greens aren't typically heavy feeders. I'm Matt with Cash Homestead. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Here's another thing I wanted to show you is carrot beds. I said that if you cover your carrot beds with something and keep them sprayed down, you can increase your germination rate. And we're going to peel this back just a little bit, and you can see we got all kinds of itty-bitty carrots popping up there. So we're going to leave this on for one more day. I like to go a week, 7 days typically. So we're going to go another day, and then we're going to peel this one back and peel those back. We'll fold them up, and then we'll use them again for germinating our root crops. This is Matt with TheLowCashHomestead. Thank you very much. Have a great day.